We kind of talked about Cavs. They can stay put. Could they make a move? Sure. What is the move? I don't know. If they were to make a move, I do think Mobley is the piece they move, though.
That's sick.
Huh?
It is, but
No, that's the wrong move.
That's
it might
sick.
be. But it also depends on who the move is for. I saw in the clip somebody said Mobley for Giannis straight up. If Giannis
No.
wants out, obviously.
Also,
If
are we
Giannis wants out
smoking
and wanted to go,
he on a lot of drugs?
this is what I'm saying. If Giannis wanted
Straight
out,
up?
if Giannis wanted out, I don't agree with straight up. I think there needs to be more in there in general. However, if Giannis wanted out, and for whatever reason, I don't know why he would want to do this. If he wanted to go to Cleveland, the argument they were making was that obviously Mobley will never be a Giannis, but around the league, he's one of the better pieces you're going to get if that's the destination that Giannis wants to go to. Do I see them moving Mobley before Garland? Yeah, because you probably could get more for Mobley, to be completely honest. But I don't know. That's if they were to make a move. I don't think they have to, but if they were, I would not be surprised if Mobley was the piece that they did move. All depends on who you're getting back in return.
Yuck. Also, that man needs to be hunted. Whoever spoke that into the world. That man and whoever put the Luka Julius Randle trade out there, and investigate, please, internet.
I don't think the Mobley in a world where Giannis is going to be traded. Like if that is a far going conclusion, I don't
For the
think
one,
I don't
for
think
the
it's still on.
valuable top 5, top 3 talent in the NBA for Evan Mobley straight up.
I don't I don't think straight up. I don't think any deal straight up for Giannis happens if you're not talking about. I mean, at this point in the league, I don't know if there's really anybody, unless you were talking about like a Jokic maybe. But I don't think there's anybody where a straight up deal makes sense. But as centerpieces, it's not the wildest thing in the world. If that was something that was on the table.
Evan Mobley is not a centerpiece. You are not going to trade me Evan Mobley as the centerpiece of a package for Giannis. I'm so sorry.
If Giannis wanted to go to Cleveland, who else would be the centerpiece? They're not. Let's assume they're
Cleveland
not.
Just can't afford them. You cannot afford them if you're Cleveland. I'm sorry.
Run it again.
That's tough.
Sorry, hold on. Bring out the diamond tester. It's fake.
Wait, the diamond tester on who?
No, Evan. Not saying that he's not certified. I'm just saying it's not enough. What did we say in TV off?
I think the mass hysteria of the straight up. Let's look past
not even straight up, Steve. If Evan Mobley is the corner that you're trying to sell me, I don't care if you give me 3 first-round picks, Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. No.
I don't care if it's Mobley and Donovan. No.
That's enticing. But
wait. Because Miguel, you were on this very podcast arguing that Mobley was the best player on the Cavs. And obviously any trade for Giannis is not sitting here trying to really compare value, because I don't think you're not getting a Giannis value or worth back. But if you're telling me that the player you said was the best player on the Cavs is not somebody that you could build around, if that's what you have to do because you're losing a franchise player, I feel like that's a bit contradictory to how we've been talking about Mobley all season. I don't think
We're
not.
Go ahead.
I get what he's saying, where it's like I was singing Evan Mobley's praises, which true. But the fact that I said Donovan Mitchell in that trade should be enough of an explanatory reasoning why I would not take that trade. Bills, Evan Mobley, and some other pieces outside of that, yes. But am I going to recreate Utah Jazz, Cleveland Cavaliers 3.0 in Milwaukee? I'm good. I would like to try something new. It hasn't been seen.
And then I'm saying it doesn't take away from the talent of Evan Mobley just because he's not a cornerstone for Giannis.
Hmm. Well, if that's the
Yes.
case, I don't know if we're gonna, but I don't. If that's the case, if that's the lens that we're looking at things through, then no matter what, if a trade occurs, no matter what trade we see, it's gonna be considered a terrible trade because I don't know what.
No, because I think if Boston were to trade for Giannis,
Hey, that's different.
That's what I'm saying.
I also think that's the Boston trade. The Boston trade is more far-fetched than the Cleveland trade, in my opinion. I just don't
think the only realistic trades that are there are a Houston trade and a OKC trade in terms of the piece being close enough to a young, talented, close enough to a star, and some auxiliary pieces that would be good enough to please me in a trade. To please, I think, any Bucks fan. I don't think that there's any real other franchise that has the stock or the capital to really throw us any sort of bone that's close to getting Giannis.
Yeah, because like I said in the other episode,
years of his not prime, but like
if I'm Houston, I don't want to give up Sengun, but that's a good point. He's close enough to where you can. The potential is there. Like, he looks like a baby Jokic. The potential can get there. Evan Mobley does not have a ceiling like Sengun has.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go
the
that
other side of the ball is very important. We're talking about a DPOY player already.
I understand.
That is a leaky faucet defensively. He's definitely better, more apt than Jokic, I would say, in terms of what effort he gives. But defensively, Mobley is.
When I watch Mobley, it's closer to a Rudy Gobert than it is a Jokic to me.
I would say it's
closer. I watch Sengun. It's closer to a Jokic than that DPOY type style big.
Mobley, I would say Mobley is way better offensively than Gobert.
No, yeah, I'm not okay. So yeah, I'm not. Let me clear that up.
He's now I would say even more than AD. One might say Giannis light in terms of
look. He's a very he's in another multiverse.
Giannis has in his DPOY, Evan Mobley does not have, which is a general like on ball sense. Like Giannis, even though he has like the frame to do so on ball, Mobley is probably better than Giannis. You know, where Giannis has Mobley is like that Wemby factor of like I can still get there somehow, even though I got crossed up 360. I'm still gonna get there for the block because my arms are what. So I think that's where I see more, and also Mobley has some wiggle. Mobley's got handle that we haven't been able to see in Cleveland because they have people that.
Okay, so Ashley, I get that you're not sold.
I'm not.
I get that. I get why Ashley's not sold because I would need to see it from Mobley again. Like
if you let Mobley take it on a fast break and move a little bit, I think we'd be surprised by how mobile he is.
So
how Mobley is.
So Gail, I agree with you that I agree with you in terms of his skill set. I think his skill set is a bit underrated, but I also could see where somebody hasn't seen enough of Mobley yet to comfortably put him in these conversations that we're talking about, and they not feel like as a cornerstone of a trade for a major player that he's not enough. But to counter your point about him and Sengun, I don't think that gap is large at all in terms of like if somebody said they'll take Sengun over Mobley right now, like I'd agree. But if you're asking me how far Mobley is from Sengun, I think it's close. Like it's close to me. So I think the next couple of years might tell where they both end up, and I think where they are will determine a lot of that if Sengun stays in Houston or gets moved, whatever the case may be. But I think as players, they're closer. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do think Mobley will need to have this type of production again for us to kind of feel like he's put himself into a certain tier of player in the NBA. But yeah.
But it's Ashley, you're not wrong in saying that it feels like, because I feel like when it comes to players that like we look at in terms of like these are the levels, it's like there's only so many players that can affect the game on an offensive level like that.
Oh no, yeah.
And he's going to, like, you're going to get a good look. I think where Mobley is cut from that cloth in terms of talent is, you know, he has that defensive ability that there's only so many of those players that can impact a defense at that level. Draymond, Rudy, Drew, like there's only so many of those guys that have that impact. It's just, I feel like it's easier to see on offense. And a defense is like the Cavs have a great team defense already too. So it's like, how much can you really attribute that to one guy? But if you put him on any one person, he's gonna do a really good job, you know? So I think it's just hard because it's easier to see that one man impact on O than it is to see that one man impact on a defense. Because there's a lot of times I feel like Sengun is definitely that next one up. But then it's like I have to remember there's still defense that, you know, it's hard to measure that. Because then you still see Rudy Gobert getting quote unquote played out of games. Hasn't happened in like a year or two.
Hasn't.
But you know, Terrence Mann, that was probably the last time it was like super memorable because it was like, wow, Terrence Mann is dropping 37 on the Utah Jazz. That was bad. I digress.